We got the Slow News Day crew in here. Got the Facts on the Ground crew in here. We got the Convo Couch in the building. Whole MCSE fam here. We got Lee Camp in the building. Who is here? Who we got? Who am I missing?
Status Coup.
Status Coup in the building. We got Pasta here. Probably want to sell you some vegan products. But we are here on behalf of a man who really revolutionized my entire thought process and approach as an independent journalist, and that man is Julian Assange. Andrew went down the list of all the ways Assange is being screwed illegally, as well as morally. But what I want to talk to you about is the tangible gains and the tangible change that Julian Assange really brought to the independent media world for young and up-and-coming journalists like myself back in 2015 and 2016. Although I've never been a Democrat or a Republican, I was of the mindset that at least, at the very bare minimum, they were different parties. Yeah, I was wrong. And it was WikiLeaks that showed me just how wrong that notion is. As we saw, you know, Colin Powell and Hillary Clinton and DNC, like all these people who on the surface act like enemies, collaborate in various ways to screw over the people. It was very eye-opening for me, and with that approach going forward, I was able to use my platform, and then other people on the MCSE network were able to use their platforms to reinforce what a lot of people didn't really know, at least in mine, because I'm only 32 years old, so it feels like a lifetime ago, 4 years ago. But a lot of people didn't know that the duopoly is really just a monopoly who undergoes fake elections every 2-4 years and pretends as if you have a choice in what happens in this oligarchy. That was Julian Assange, who, in my opinion, led the awakening in this surge of independent journalists who are on the ground, who are at the organizing events, who are at the protests, who are part of the protest. Because I feel like for a long time, journalists were separated, and maybe that's a good thing because we want our fourth estate to be separate from the politics. But right now, we can't take a back seat anymore. If you're a journalist, you need to be saying Julian Assange's name every day, multiple times a day. I don't care what you're talking about. I randomly say Julian Assange's name on my show just because, like, hey, we just need to remind y'all, we're losing our freedom of the press right now as we speak, and Julian Assange is still being tortured. We need to say his name more often. I know a lot of you say his name often as it is. We have to say it more. And even if we're able to turn this protest into a celebration, we have to continue to say his name more. Because unfortunately, I have to remind you all what happened with Chelsea Manning. They got her back, right? They took her back to jail. They unconstitutionally brought her back in front of another grand jury and began torturing her again. We have to make sure there's never another Julian Assange, Chelsea Manning, Edward Snowden. We have to make sure that this never happens again. And whatever happens, no matter what the outcome is tomorrow, once again, hoping and speaking into fruition, that's going to be a celebration by the end of tomorrow. But even if, we have to continue to remember what took place, where we saw the last, oh my God, I think it's almost been about 8 years. We saw the assault on the freedom of the press hit levels that it's really never hit in history. And Julian Assange had to basically deal with it alone. He put the press on his back, and even as he's being persecuted, is still exposing the oligarchy. If we had journalists like Julian Assange, and by the way, all the new independent journalists out there, can we give the new ones a hand? If you've just started about a year or so ago, give yourself a hand, put your hands in the air, and make sure y'all connect with them after. Go subscribe to them, because these journalists were inspired out of anger, out of frustration. Most of them are monetized. If they are, it's not by a lot. Most of them don't even have Patreons. They have full-time jobs. They have kids. They have 6 cats and a dog. They're doing it because this is what they felt compelled to do. So we need everybody out there. You don't have to be a full-time journalist, but we need everybody to be a citizen journalist. We need everybody to be an activist. We need everybody to be an organizer. Yes, of course, naturally leaders pop up and they're chosen by committee, but at the same time, we need a decentralized movement like what we've been seeing today, where we just came from the Force to Vote event, and many of you are at that event, and now you are here. This is what democracy actually looks like, right? We don't have a representative democracy anymore, so let's not pretend like we do. But this is what democracy is supposed to look like. It doesn't take 50% of the population to change anything in this country, believe it or not. And in fact, I would even argue that if most of the country agrees on something that we should have it, we probably won't have it. But it takes 5%, a really, really, really loud 5%, to make the change this country needs. Julian Assange, no matter what happens tomorrow, will probably make history. But we can't allow that to happen again. We can't. ABC, CNN, multiple mainstream media organizations, the same ones who are attacking him right now, were saying that Julian Assange deserved Nobel Prizes and Pulitzer Prizes for the same type of information that when he released on the Democrats, all of a sudden, he's Russian. And I listened to Julian Assange speak a lot. I don't think there's any Russian there. I'm bad with accents, but I don't think there's any Russian there. I think he's just telling the truth. They don't like that accent. But the same ones that were celebrating him are now attacking him, right? And they've joined forces with the Trump administration that they supposedly hate. They hate everything Trump does. Except when it's time to prosecute Julian Assange. Except when it's time to prosecute and persecute Chelsea Manning. And so if you're watching this from home, if you're watching this in passing, if you're just here because I know there's just some weirdos in DC that just like going to protest, I hope that you see what's happening in front of you. Which is that there is no Democratic Party, there is no Republican Party, none of them respect the Constitution, none of them respect your rights. You gotta take it. You gotta take what's yours. We have to take our press back. We have to take Capitol Hill back. We have to take our human rights back. We have to take what is ours and fight like hell to keep it. Because it can't just be Julian Assange. I know everybody sees what's happening to Julian Assange, and it does make you avoid wanting to ever be in a situation like that. I really do understand it. But at the same time, I guarantee you they can't do it to all of us. I guarantee you, or else they wouldn't work so hard to suppress everything that has to do with Julian Assange. Because they know they can't do it to all of us. So if you have a phone, start recording, get in front of the camera, tell the truth about what's happening to Julian Assange, tell the truth about this duopoly, tell the truth about the military-industrial complex. You have a camera, get up. I don't care what the quality is. I don't care. Get up, talk. If you have a computer, hell, you have type the article in your notes. Write about Julian Assange, write about this duopoly, write about the military-industrial complex. You are a journalist. You are Julian Assange. You don't have to start out as a hacker or some poli-sci major, went to a J school somewhere. Damn all that. All the rules are out the window. Y'all see some of these journalists out here, they're not really all that good. And they went to J school. Okay? They went to journalism school. It's a different world. The activists are the journalists now. I see a whole lot of activists out here, which means I see a whole lot of truth-telling journalists out here as well. So I want to say once again, Julian Assange, if you are able to see this, thank you. Thank you to his family for being so strong in this moment. Thanks to all the independent journalists who have already been covering Assange. Thanks to the Action for Assange crew who has been just so diligent and dedicated and doing their vigils, continuing what the previous Julian Assange advocates have done. His vigils have been going consistently and they almost died, but the Action for Assange crew refused to let that happen. Thank you so much. And, I'm honored that you all use MCSC Network to stream I know they always think I'm doing them a favor, but honestly, like, I'm honored that you would even come up to me and think and like believe that in my fight that I wouldn't even question allowing you to stream that vigil. Listen, we get hit with suppression because of it all the time. I don't care. Assange is that important. Figure out how you can support Assange. Figure out how you can support independent journalism and freedom of the press and protect our Constitution. And I don't care what the quality is. Get out and just do the shit. Because we don't have much time left. Julian doesn't have much time left, and we cannot afford to ever let this attack on the freedom of the press happen again. Thank you all so much.
This guy's walking around with coffee right now, and he's just good. Are you Jesus? We're gonna bring up Mr. Lee Camp now. I don't know, man. You can, if you wanted to, you probably can. I'm gonna easy up.
All the time.
All the time.
Anytime I get compliments on style from Nico House, I know I'm just.
Should I do something? Oh, I'm so sorry.
Hello, everybody! Give it up for Action for Assange! Let them hear one more time! The louder you yell, the warmer you'll be! What do we want? Free Assange! When do we want it? What do we want? When do we want it? What do we want? When do we want it? All right, see, you're warmer already, aren't you? So, I mean, a lot of it you guys know. You know that this is horrific. You know that Assange is a fucking hero. You know that the things he did for journalism, but really for this world, are in many ways unparalleled in the terms of the breadth of the truth that was revealed about repressive and secretive governments around the world. This guy should have fucking statues up for him, and instead he's in prison because he threatened them. He threatened them. He threatened the way they rule. The way the ruling elite can keep everything they do secret and not fear that we'll find out. Not fear that we'll know the truth about our governments. I mean, the truth is, like, I want to go through some of the things that WikiLeaks and Julian Assange has revealed over the years, because a lot of people forget. A lot of people think that it's like the collateral murder video and that's it. They think that he only revealed stuff about America, but it's blatantly false. The collateral murder video is horrific. It's a crime against humanity. It's a war crime, and people should know about it. But it's not the only thing that WikiLeaks ever did. Of course, 12 to 18 innocent people were killed in the collateral murder event. 2 of them were Reuters journalists, and no one has gone to prison for those murders. Yet Julian Assange is in prison for revealing them. And, of course, Chelsea Manning. The Guantanamo Bay Standard Operating Procedures revealed the treatment of prisoners in Guantanamo Bay, and also revealed that many of them were innocent. No one has gone to prison for that treatment of those people, yet Julian Assange has for revealing it. The Iraq war logs, hundreds of thousands of documents revealing the truth about America's invasion and destruction of Iraq. No one has gone to jail, gone to prison for that the behavior of our military over there, and yet Julian Assange has for revealing it. And again, we have to also nod at Chelsea Manning. And so people, as I said earlier, people think it's only American stuff. He only revealed the truth about America because he wants to bring down America. No, he and WikiLeaks have revealed stuff about governments around the world. They revealed the treatment of Chinese dissidents, videos that China didn't want people to see. They revealed the Peru oil scandal, Russia spying on its own citizens, toxic dumping in Africa, the inner workings of the Syrian government, a secret Australian gag order meant to hide a huge bribery scandal that involved the central bank and Australian political leaders. And no one has gone to prison for those things, yet Julian Assange has for revealing them. He revealed the secret, he and WikiLeaks revealed the secretive Bilderberg Group meeting reports, which is a group of incredibly powerful world leaders that get together and they drink the blood of the non-believers. I might have made up that last part. The Barclays Bank tax avoidance scheme that allowed Barclays to steal £1 billion a year. No one went to prison for that, yet Julian Assange has for revealing it. The Afghan war diaries, tens of thousands of pages revealing American war crimes in Afghanistan. And people have not gone to prison for that, yet Julian Assange has for revealing it. Hundreds of thousands of State Department, U.S. State Department cables that revealed how our secretive government works, how it pressures other governments around the world to bend to its will. It revealed that Hillary Clinton ordered spying on allied governments. It revealed that Arab nations had pressured the U.S. to attack Iran, and so much more. We deserve to know these things as the people of this country. We deserve to know what our government is doing in our name. And no one is going to prison for all of these crimes, yet Julian Assange has for revealing them. The Stratford emails, millions of emails revealing private security company Stratford spied on journalists and activists, and no one's gone to prison for that, yet Julian Assange and Jeremy Hammond did for revealing them. The trade deals, TPP, TTIP, and TISA, some of the largest corporate power grabs ever created, ceding national sovereignty to powerful corporations around the world. And we hardly knew what was in those documents. Yet, WikiLeaks was able to publish some of what was in those, which allowed activists to have the knowledge and the proof in order to stand up against those trade deals. And TPP, we succeeded in stopping America from signing on to that. The impacts of what WikiLeaks and Assange have done is incredibly powerful. The ripples will go on for generations. And now Biden will probably re-sign on to the TPP. But still, you got 4 more years of not being part of a corporate tribunal that decides how our country works. The DNC emails that revealed corruption, manipulation, and coercion with the media to rig the 2016 primaries. No one went to prison for that, yet Julian Assange is in prison for revealing them. And finally, I'll end on the CIA's Vault 7. Showed the world some of the inner workings of the CIA, how it is that they hack into foreign governments, how it is that they're capable of hacking into your television, your smart TV, even when it's not on, and listening to you in your own home. They should be in prison for that kind of breach of privacy, but instead Julian Assange is for revealing it. You could go on and on. This is just a small sampling of what Assange and WikiLeaks have managed to do, and these are things we should know. These are things we, as the people of this country, and the people in other countries should know, that is objectively, the government is supposed to be working for you. That's the idea. We know that's not how that works, but it's how it's supposed to work. And so Assange should be free, he should be heralded, he should be celebrated, he should not be in prison being tortured as he has been for so many years. We desperately need more Julian Assanges. We desperately need more people standing up and whistleblowers revealing the truth behind our governments. That's what we need. And that's part of the reason why he needs to be tortured by the ruling elite, is because they fear others will stand up like him. He set an amazing example of courage to reveal these things. And that is what's so dangerous. And so that is why, obviously, the UK should not extradite him. He should be free. He should be able to tour the world, giving speeches, and continue his work of journalism. And you guys are incredible for coming out and supporting that and demanding that. What do we want? When do we want it? What do we want? When do we want it? Thank you, guys, and thank you, Action for Assange.
Eventually. He'll be in. No, you got to go on this road.
Hello everyone, if you're just tuning in, we are in front of the British Embassy in Washington, D.C. Today and tomorrow will be the hearing for Julian Assange.
Okay, I'm gonna go get Ian.
Let's see, maybe a couple more speakers.
Jackson Hinkle, step forward, young man. Jackson, get on over here. Thank you very much for. What do we want? When do we want it? Now. What do we want? When do we want it? Now. The single biggest thing that has caused my political radicalization in my life has been the work of Julian Assange. I'm a YouTuber. I have an independent news channel that I started not too long ago. My name is Jackson Hinkle, and I live in California. And I came all the way out here in part because of the Medicare for All protests that are happening, but also because I desperately wanted to be here with all of you, and I wanted to stand up for Julian Assange, because the fact of the matter is there are no words that can there's no words that can explain what this man has done for press freedoms and for justice around this planet. And the way that he has been treated is an abomination, right? The torture. You have Niles Melcher, who's a UN special reporter, who has gone on record, put his career on the line multiple times to discuss the fact that what is happening to Julian Assange right now is a gross, disgusting act of torture, right? He's being held in solitary confinement for virtually every hour of the day. He's not allowed to go out and see the sunlight, and they're purposefully putting COVID-infested patients in the Belmarsh prison, which is the British equivalent of Guantanamo Bay, right next to him in that prison to try and kill him, right? They tried and kill him multiple times already. Now that they have him in Belmarsh, they're trying again. What's happening to Julian Assange is one of the biggest abominations that we have witnessed in modern global history. This is the biggest attack on press freedom, on freedom of speech, on publishing rights that we have ever seen, and it blows my mind that we are the only people here today. And it's in large part due to exactly what Nico was talking about, the fact that the mainstream media, who used to once celebrate this man, talk about the fact that he deserves Nobel Peace Prizes, he deserves medals of honor, now are the same people saying that he is a Russian asset. It also happens to be the same people that say Tulsi Gabbard is a Russian asset, the same people that say independent journalists like myself and many of the people here today are Russian assets, right? It's insane. It's insane. Reading the Iraq war logs was the single biggest moment of political radicalization I've ever had in my life. You know, obviously, you were first radicalized to get into politics and to become more left. I think we can all agree we've had those moments. But reading the Iraq war logs, looking at each instance of blatant acts of inhumanity, of violations of international war crimes, shook me to my core, right? It shook me to my core. And if it wasn't for Julian Assange, you can bet your ass that, you know, my white ass living in Orange County, California, never would have heard those stories, never would have heard about the disgusting acts of violence that were committed against civilians in Iraq, in Afghanistan, in Niger, in Syria, in Libya, in Lebanon, in all across the world, right? It's happening all across the world still today. Unfortunately, Julian isn't there to report on what's happening right now. He's not there to report, but WikiLeaks is still in the midst of this you know, extradition trial, if you can even call it that, this sham of a trial, this kangaroo court hearing. They're still trying to do the work that needs to be done right now. So I want to thank all of you for being here today, for standing up for Julian Assange and for press freedoms. Regardless of what happens tomorrow, the fight does not end. The fight does not end. Whoever decides that they want to run for president in 2024 better have free fucking Assange on their website. Front and center, or else they're not getting my vote. I don't care if you're a Democrat, I don't care if you're a Green Party candidate, I don't care if you're a People's Party candidate. Whoever is running for president better have free Assange on their platform. And we should demand that of all of our Congress people and senators who are representing us, right? If you are ever going to lobby a senator for a single issue, make sure you bring up free Assange while you're there. If you're there campaigning about environmental rights, if you're there campaigning about, Wall Street regulation or what have you, bring up free Assange. Mention his name. Make sure that people hear his name. Because I guarantee you, when he's rotting away in a U.S. prison, the mainstream media won't be saying his name. The leading progressive politicians won't be saying his name. AOC in a fucking interview with The Intercept the other day said, I don't know about freeing Julian Assange. I don't know about a pardon for Julian Assange. I don't know. I'd have to think about that. That's what your progressive shining light AOC had to say about Julian Assange. She said, Edward Snowden, there's an argument to be made there. Julian Assange, I don't know. Well, I know, all of you know the work that this man has done and that he will continue to be able to do if he is freed. And we need him free now more than ever, because he is the one who is doing the acts of justice. He's not the one committing crimes. The people committing crimes are the ones who are locking him up. So thank you all for being here today. And one more time, let's say, free Assange! Free Assange! Free Assange! Free Assange! Free Assange! Free Assange!
Hey guys, please hit the like button. Alright? Share the stream. If you're not a member, become a member. Alright? You support independent journalism.
What do we want? What do we want it? What do we want? What do we want it? It's disgusting what's going on with Julian Assange. It's just disgusting. What did he do? He told the American people the truth. Lee talked about a lot of the other stuff that a lot of people don't know and what he exposed. But I think we all saw the video of the helicopter and what it did to all those journalists who got gunned down. And I think every high school student should have to watch that video and see the horrific bloodshed that has come from war. And all Julian Assange did was tell the truth. Not like the mainstream media, not like CNN, that all they do is give you propaganda every single day. Julian Assange started WikiLeaks. He has never had to retract one story, ladies and gentlemen, not one story. He has a 100% accuracy rating. And what do? They let him sit there and rot. Right now in Belmarsh, they're trying to kill him. He needs help. He needs to be out there. And just think about this. Julian Assange has either been in hiding or in prison for over 10 years. Over a decade. Can you imagine what it's like to not be able to go outside, breathe the fresh air, not hold your children, not tell them you love them? But that's what Julian Assange is facing. And we need to be his voices. All the independent media you see here today, we're under attack. Every day we get throttled on YouTube. Every day they demonetize us. They take us down. Why? Because they were able to do it to Julian Assange. They're able to do it to anybody. So we got to come together, ladies and gentlemen. Get on Action Assange. Help them out. Watch their vigils. And let's free Assange. What do we want? Free Assange! What do we want it? Now! What do we want? Free Assange! What do we want it? Now! Let's give it up to Action for Assange for putting this together. This is awesome.
Look at what's on.
Hey, thanks everybody for coming out. My name is Steve Poikinen. I'm one of the organizers of the event here today. 175 years. 175 years under the Espionage Act for an Australian citizen with an outlet registered in Iceland. And this makes sense because does this make sense to anybody?
No!
Anybody?
No!
The United States is claiming international jurisdiction over the press. Raise your hand if you're part of the press. Part of the press, part of the... Everybody raise your fucking hand. The United States is claiming that if you, a private citizen, receive classified material, you can be prosecuted under the Espionage Act of 1917. This is unprecedented. This is brand new in this indictment against Julian Assange. It is brand new in this indictment against Julian Assange that a journalist and publisher, period, is being charged under the Espionage Act, let alone a foreign journalist and publisher charged under the Espionage Act. The United States government is claiming that sharing classified material is an offense that they can prosecute private citizens under the Espionage Act. Raise your hand if you've ever shared a link that contained classified material. The United States government cannot prosecute each and every one of you. My God! Like, can you imagine the Justice Department trying to prosecute every American citizen, every citizen on the globe? No. So they're going to do what they do with the Espionage Act every single time, which is use it as a political weapon to target people that they deem dangerous. So raise your hand if you think you're dangerous. Woo! I believe you're dangerous too. For all of the right reasons. I want to thank everybody for coming out today. Does anybody else want to get in on this? Ian Schlackman.
Where's Ian Schlackman?
Where's Ian Schlackman? I know you have something to say, brother. I know you do. I know you do. I know you do. Thank you for coming out, my friend.
Yeah. I'm actually, I'm a little rusty. I haven't given a speech in public in like, I don't know, it feels like years with this coronavirus thing. But my mentor, the legendary Reverend Andy Chambers, Black Panther, who's still fighting in Douglas Homes. Gotcha. The legendary Black Panther still fighting the establishment in Baltimore City every single day. And I asked her what she thought before I came here today. She wasn't able to come. And she said every single day people are freezing in prisons all throughout Maryland, all throughout America, all throughout the world. And she doesn't see any difference between Julian Assange and her sons and daughters freezing their asses off in the prisons right here in Maryland. They get no heat, they get no reprieve, they don't get to see their loved ones. It's torture. The man is being tortured to death. The man is being tortured to death. And this kind of treatment happens every single day to those in the prison industrial system right here in the USA. But what's more scary than that is happening right now. And that is that as of tomorrow, there is the chance that the U.S. will have an internationally recognized right to pick you up wherever you are on this planet just because they don't like what you're saying, just because they don't like what you're publishing, just because you're publishing the truth. And when that international right happens, every single country is going to be fighting for that right back at them. You're going to see war after war started over who can abduct what journalist over what time all throughout the damn U.S., all throughout the damn country, all throughout the damn world. We are opening the Pandora's box here where we do not respect the rights of journalists. Last I checked, Julian Assange was not an American citizen. He's not subject to American law. Last I checked, he had the freedom of speech, even if he goddamn was. And I'm outraged by this. I'm outraged by the international pressure that has been so lacking. And I am damn outraged by the fact that this is not in the mainstream news of America. We should be furious at the mainstream news. This is a precedent that we will never get back. Never get back. The U.S. wants to be the world's policeman, and that is a step far too far when it comes to press freedoms. We've got to fight. We've got to keep fighting. And we've got to make sure
that this kind of thing, look folks, right here, all of you all are leaders in this movement, whether you want to be or not, whether you just want to be covering it, whether you just want to be someone on Twitter, whether you just want to be someone online, you're more than that. You're a leader in this movement. You're standing up. You're courageous when others are falling down. You're speaking truth to power when others are staying hidden and they don't want to speak up about what's going on right now. Use your leadership. Use your newfound powers of fighting for this movement to go further than ever before and to take this back home with you and to tell every single person in your community that this is not okay. This is not acceptable. What's going on with Julian Assange is just the first step in the war on press freedoms. The war that will kill us and to kill this country. Imagine if we literally didn't know about what happened that day in Iraq. Imagine if we didn't know about the people that had died. Imagine if that wasn't exposed. I'm not being hyperbolic when I say this is killing us. This is literally going to kill people. We have to be sure to keep the pressure up no matter what happens tomorrow. Keep the pressure going. Keep the campaign going. Keep on fighting. Injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere. Thank you.
Love you, Ian.
I want to say thank you to Action for Assange. Let's hear it for Action for Assange. This is amazing. This is absolutely amazing. When they said they were doing this in January, I said good luck. I can't believe you're coming to D.C. in January. And look at all you people here from all over the world. Who's not from D.C.? Raise your hand. Who's not from D.C.? This is fucking amazing. This is fucking amazing. I'm in awe. Thank you all.
Give it up for Ian Schlockman!
Oh, pasta's like my, I don't know why pasta's holding my drink, but that's hilarious. It's fantastic. It's not even my birthday. So we are here in January because District Judge Vanessa Baratzer, or as we've been calling her, the concierge to the U.S. State Department, reads the decision in Julian Assange's extraordinary rendition hearing tomorrow. We've also been calling it an extraordinary rendition hearing because a gentleman named Victor Dadaj told us to stop using the language of empire, and you really can't call this an extradition. There's nothing legal about any of this case. I don't know if you guys know the extent to which Julian Assange's basic human, civil, and legal rights have been violated throughout this entire process. In 2017, the guy who lives in the house, Mike Pence, and a guy named Richard Grenell, and Donald Trump, and Sheldon Adelson got together and they drafted a Spanish security firm called UC Global, the president of which, David Morales, is now in serious legal trouble in Spain. UC Global was tasked with a brand new job alongside of providing security to the Ecuadorian embassy. They were tasked with upgrading the video and audio surveillance equipment on Julian Assange with a special interest in all of his meetings with his attorneys. From 2017 on, Julian Assange hasn't had a shred of lawyer-client confidentiality. This is something that's actually come out in a Spanish court, but it also came out in court in September in the UK. This is something that Judge Vanessa Baratzer is well aware of. There were 3 different witnesses from UC Global testify during the last week of Julian's hearing. In what world does a torture victim who doesn't live in the country that he's being extradited to, or have an outlet in the country that he's being extradited to, in what world does a judge sit there and go, okay, so there's violation upon violation upon violation upon violation upon violation of this man's rights and this man's liberties. what does my laptop say? Okay, well, I'm just going to read whatever the laptop says because this isn't, that was John Pilger. John Pilger was right. This isn't due process, it's due revenge. The fact that collateral murder wasn't part of the hearing at all, not because it exposed the rules of engagement, which it did, but everybody already knew what they were anyway, because the video had been out for a decade, because it was prima facie evidence of U.S. war crimes. It wasn't allowed in court. The fact that United States war crimes were addressed at all in a British courtroom is fascinating, because if Julian Assange gets brought to the United States, no one is going to hear about that in court. None of you are going to be able to hear about any of this in court. You're not going to be able to show up. It's a national security case. They're not going to let a single human being that isn't a member of the jury, the bailiff, or the judge in that courtroom. Julian Assange would be tried in the dark. And I mean that quite literally, because they black out the windows in the courtroom. National security cases take place in a vacuum. Julian Assange's case has already taken place in a giant press vacuum. Once again, Reporters Without Borders and other NGO observing groups have been shut out of monitoring Julian's hearing. Back in September, over 40 different groups were locked out of the Old Bailey in order to observe the world's biggest press freedom trial in our lifetimes? Absolutely, absolutely. Daniel Ellsberg talked about the chilling effect that this was going to have on journalists. It's already happened. I see a handful of people from the independent media out here. I see none of the people who sit at Indie Media's Cool Kids table.
Call the bell.
I mean, I realize it's not great weather, but, you know, it is your future we're out here trying to protect. I certainly don't see anybody with a giant multi-million-dollar contract out here, even though it's their jobs that I guess we're sort of trying to protect, but fuck those guys, really. Fuck every last bit of those guys. I don't know. Let's yell at the British Embassy for a little bit. There's only one decision! No extradition! There's only one decision! No extradition! There's only one decision! No extradition! Free! Julian Assange! Free! Julian Assange! Free! Julian Assange! Free! Julian Assange! There's only one decision! No extradition! There's only one decision! No extradition! I will hold your camera for you. Not trained up for the trigger. Franco!
I love being here. This is democracy.
This is what democracy looks like! This is what democracy looks like! That is what imperialism 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 looks like! As everybody's been up here to talk has already covered, what happens to Assange affects all of us. We are Julian Assange. We're all the press. We all have our phones now. We can cover everything that's going on. They're afraid of us. The mainstream media is not going to talk about this. Where the fuck are they? Where the... I said this yesterday about forced to vote. Where the fuck is the home of the progressives. Where the fuck are they? They're not even talking about this. Because by definition, they are corporate news. They are mainstream media. They're afraid to talk about this. But we're not afraid to talk about this. We're all out here. We're all here for Assange. Doctors from across the world, over 200 doctors, signed a letter that said what they're doing to Assange is inhumane, that he needs to be freed now.
Yes.
Free Assange now!
Free Assange now!
Free Assange now!
Free Assange now!
This is what democracy looks like!
This is what democracy looks like!
That is what imperialism looks like!
That is what imperialism looks like!
Free Assange!
I would just again like to thank everybody for turning out. We're still going to be here a while. No one's going anywhere. Our WikiLeaks van is making one more circle around the block. They are going to be with us for a while, but we want to get a group picture with everybody if you're willing to hop in for one when it comes around. Feel free to blow your whistles. Eventually we're going to start walking around the embassy chanting in a little bit after the van picture. We have wristbands, we have buttons, we have flyers in there. Please help yourself to any of our counter propaganda. I appreciate your help. Thank you guys for turning out today.
All right. Just tuning in, we're in front of the British Embassy here in Washington, D.C. This will be a 2-day rally here. Excuse me, can I ask you a couple of questions? What's that? Sure. Okay, let me just get set up here. All right. Now, if Assange is extradited, what do you think this means for independent journalism and the press? What does it mean?
Another nail in the coffin, essentially, to free press. It's showing the precedent of what the future is globally as far as the press is concerned. So absolutely not a good thing.
Not a good thing. Now, what do you think? Of course, Assange was praised by certain networks and certain Democrats. Back when the war crimes were exposed. Now he's become an enemy of the state. Why do you think that is?
The powers that be want to keep what they need to keep the imperialist, the empire, the U.S. empire going. Essentially, that's part of it, the largest part of it, and dictates to the rest of the world what it wants everyone else to do. In that sense, then too.
Your name?
Sergei Kostin, Code Pink.
Thank you very much.
Right on.
They're gonna get a group shot here. Hold on.
The van should be back any minute.
So they're waiting for the Assange, the van with the Julian Assange on it.
We are. We're waiting for the truck for the picture. I'm sorry. We lined up a little bit good. But there's only one decision. There's only one decision. This is a new one, so follow me here. Donald Trump, you know what to do. Julian Assange told us the truth. Donald Trump, you know what to do. Julian Assange told us the truth. Donald Trump, you know what to do. Julian Assange told us the truth. There's only one decision. There's only one decision. What do we want? When do
will be here any minute, I promise, guys. Any second now.
You better start another chant. You got another new one? Little joke.
Excuse me, can I ask you a couple questions about Assange? No? Okay, that's all right. What's that?
There's people here that are, there's a journalist who I want to talk to, wearing like a green hat.
Okay.
He's there with a green shirt.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
How about we like superimpose the truck in the background of the picture? Right?
Greetings, everyone. I'd like to ask for two favors. My name is Peter Bolton. I am a former candidate for the Green Party here in DC, and I'm also a reporter with the UK's leading independent online news source, The Canary. First of all, I'd like you to all consider whether you want to bother with the futile task of trying to reform the Democratic Party and moving it to the left. We've already heard that AOC, the so-called darling of the left, has failed to stand up for Julian Assange. I would like you to instead consider joining your local affiliate of the Green Party of the United States. Second of all, I'd like you to consider following The Canary on social media, on Twitter, on Facebook, or if you can afford it, please become a sponsor. We have been reporting on Julian Assange's case since October 2015 and have published over 100 articles. I have nothing more to say about Julian Assange because it's already been said other than two things. First of all, he is not a criminal. He's not even a whistleblower. He is a journalist, just like me and just like many of you. The second thing I know is that the United States government and the United Kingdom government have absolutely zero credibility when it comes to passing judgment on Julian Assange or any other journalist or any other nation for that matter. The UK and the US are the two leading rogue states in the world, and if there are any journalists, other journalists amongst you, I would like you to make an effort to make that case every time you get in front of your computer and write an article. Thank you so much for showing up, and thank you to the other speakers.
This truck's coming. I think he got pulled over. He's on the
Andrea. You want this back?
Excuse me, can I ask you a couple questions?
Sure.
Yeah. You know, I recall back, you know, a couple of networks and a couple of Democrats were, you know, they were supporting Assange and what he did, and now all of a sudden it seems that he's an enemy of the state. Why do you think the changeover?
So while we wait for the van, I'm gonna have us march
Should we
down
maybe
this
go
way.
somewhere a little quieter?
We're gonna do some chanting, some yelling. Just so you guys know the layout.
Do you want to ask the question again, or can you just edit it?
No, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
We're live. I'm live right now.
We're live.
Yeah,
We're live.
Yeah, I got an audience right now.
All right. So the answer to your question about the Democrats is people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and other members of the so-called squad. They've entered Congress, and now they're in Congress. The tentacles of the Democratic Party establishment have wrapped themselves around them and are squeezing the life out of them. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez even went so far as to fire the staff that she'd employed who were members of her campaign. I'm going to take this off. And she replaced them with people who were essentially Washington insiders and who had done the rounds on the Hill, worked for establishment Democrats. And you know, the reality is that every Democrat who tries to reform the party from within fails because they get corrupted by the system. They try, they water down their proposals, and so on. Sure. So I would recommend people to give up on the Democratic Party and try to get involved in a third party. I would like to tell you the Green Party, of course, though there are others that are trying to provide a progressive left-of-center alternative because, of course, the Democratic Party is irreformable.
Now, why do you think? Oh, there they close the van now. But what do you think? What do you think? They saw him as an enemy of the state. Why is that?
Well, because he's embarrassing the U.S. government. He is giving away information, their secrets that they wish to hide from the public, because they know that the only way that they can, when I mean they, the status quo and both major U.S. parties can continue to manufacture consent, is to pull the wool over the eyes of the public. Because if people knew what was really going on, they wouldn't accept it, and they would organize to change it. And that is what the status quo and those who support the status quo most fear. Watch out there.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, good point. And now, what does this mean for independent journalists like myself and other reporters? What does this mean if he is extradited?
Well, it would be a terrible loss, and it would set a very dangerous precedent, because essentially what you have is the force of the state and the force of the two of the most powerful countries and rogue states in the world using their legal systems as a way of suppressing free speech, free press, free inquiry, and investigation into their own malfeasance and destructiveness on the world stage. So I think it would be a devastating blow to future hopes for having a really effective press that holds governments to account.
Absolutely. I'm sorry, and I didn't get your name before.
My name is Peter Bolton. I'm an independent journalist for The Canary and Counterpunch, and I'm also a former local government candidate for the Green Party of the United States.
Awesome. Thank you, Peter.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Absolutely. I'll see you around, man.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm going to run up here in front of the march.
And then that's most of what we're doing. Beyond that, it's just making noise, maybe a couple more speakers.
So do we want the embassy in the background? Or the embassy's here? Is that it?
Yeah, that's New Zealand embassy.
Okay.
Really nice embassy.
Can we get a photo here?
What? Explain where?
Okay.
So while the band gets in position, we're going to march back. I believe that is the house of the British ambassador, either that one or that one. So while we go by, give a nice little fuck you. Fuck you! Sorry, home decision! No extradition! Free! Free!
Julian Assange! Free! Free! Julian Assange!
Sorry, home decision! No extradition! Free! Free! Julian Assange! Free! Free! Julian Assange! Sorry, home decision! No extradition! Free!
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
What do you think this means if he does get extradited? What does this mean for journalism?
It's pretty much, that's the end of it. That's the end of it, because we've given them a precedent. That's a precedent for the global network to crack down on journalism, and especially investigative journalism. It'll be dead because they'll declare everything a national, against national security. That's what they do.
Absolutely. I mean, it's gonna prevent people from exposing, politicians and government issues that we've seen happen within this decade.
Exactly. I think the thing that sticks out mostly in my mind is it's opaque governments going after transparency. You can see what they did with Vanessa Barrister, the magistrate. They totally scrubbed her from the internet. There's no information on Vanessa Barrister at all except one photo. And that just says opaqueness, so no one's held accountable. So it's transparency against, governments that want to just crush any kind of transparency. It's very frustrating.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Your name?
Paula Isella.
Thank you, Paula.
Thank you.
Thank you. So the van's got to pull up here. We're going to get a group shot.
It's pretty active, for Sunday. All these cars in and out.
All people in the front, no people in the back.
Same.
Everybody does it. Everybody does it.
Listen to what I need and what I say.
So we have a car trying to get through. Okay, on the count of three, everybody say fuck the British. 1, 2, 3. Fuck the British. 1, 2, 3. Fuck the British. 1, 2, 3. Fuck the British.
Fuck Pretty Patel!
Did you own that song? 1, 2, 3.
Fuck the British.
Free Assange. Free Julian. Yeah.
Okay, this time free Assange on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Free Assange. 1, 2, 3. Free Assange. 1, 2, 3. Free Assange. You guys are awesome. I love every one of you. Thank you very much. So we're gonna head back down by the tent in the road. If you want to walk around and yell at them, you can feel free to grab one of the megaphones. We have this one and then that one that Mr. Slackman has. Let's make some noise. We got whistles, we got megaphones. I'm sure we can piss these people off for the next hour. Because it's our free speech for the next 100 years that's going to go away if they be pieces of shit.
We are here in front of the British Embassy in Washington, D.C. Hey, you guys mind if I ask you a question? Cool? Yeah, absolutely. So, why don't you just tell me why you guys are here? Why you believe, tell me why you're here.
Julian Assange, shouldn't be extradited. There's no reason to be in prison. And, pretty much it. You want to go?
You're essentially, criminalizing his work. Him publishing secrets that he's revealed over the years through his sources, which is typical journalism. I think it's important to emphasize that everything Julian Assange did was legal, and in previous instances, like Heidelberg, praised. So
Now I recall that certain Democrats and like MSNBC other networks were kind of like supporting him, Assange, and what he was exposing. And now all of a sudden he's the enemy of the state. Why do you think that is?
I guess
partisanship. I guess pissing off the DNC.
Yeah, it wasn't just about Bush era, neocon, collateral murder stuff. It was about Obama's drone strikes, and
once
that was a bridge too far.
Yeah, once it turned about indicting Obama, it became a different story. And there's been a definite, notable aggression from both parties on Assange. So it's interesting. Hopefully Trump can do what he does best and pull a wild card. And
what do you think the odds of that are?
Low.
Yeah, low. Yeah.
But
and what is this if he is extradited? Now, what does this mean for journalism and for press freedom?
Sets a precedent for sure. I mean,
absolutely.
It's the way it is, though. I mean,
and I think the most unfortunate part about it is I don't see there being a lot of outrage or coverage. So you're gonna see this extradition and this trial where those who are observant are understanding that this is setting precedent, this is going to change the relationship the press has with politicians in power, and still we're going to see little to no coverage, I bet, from mainstream media.
Very sad, yeah. Well, that's why I'm out here. I believe in this. I believe in press freedom and, holding certain people accountable. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, thank you very much.
Thank you for being out here.
If I get your names?
Jackson.
Tom.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Justice for Seth Rich. Yeah.
What was that?
Justice for Seth Rich.
Okay, is that's another... Who's Seth Rich?
Oh, he was a fella that supposedly got the DNC emails because he was a staffer. And I don't know, Julian Assange kind of implied that he got it from him instead of the Russians on national TV. So, but Assange doesn't give away his sources, for their own protection. Right. So he strongly implied it, and he's deceased. So I guess he kind of get away with it.
And what's his name again?
Seth Rich. Look into him.
Okay, I will.
Yeah,
I will. Absolutely. Thank you very much. There's another speaker over here. I'm trying to run up.
First of all, let me just say, because I know this city, I know the political atmosphere here, and what we have today with all of you out here in not the nicest weather, in the middle of a pandemic, to support someone who is not an American citizen, whose name has been completely maligned in our media, who has been smeared, who has been the target of every kind of possible denigration and smear. This is incredible that we've mobilized this many people today, and this is just the beginning. And it's also a part of what took place earlier in DC with Force the Vote, to expose the hypocrisy in our political system, where self-styled socialists like AOC say that there are concerns around Julian Assange and will not challenge Nancy Pelosi, a straight-up warmonger. So this is just about people power. This is pure people power today, and these are incredible numbers considering the situation that we're in. I hadn't prepared any remarks. I wasn't really prepared to speak, but one of the things that upsets me the most today is that this is the anniversary of the state murder of Qasem Soleimani, someone who not only defended his country, but defended the Middle East against one of the most vicious, fascistic forces in the world and helped defeat ISIS. And he actually worked alongside the United States to defeat ISIS, and the United States murdered him. And what did they do a year ago after they murdered him, they assassinated him? Donald Trump deployed fake intelligence, falsely claiming that Qasem Soleimani was on his way to kill Americans and attack American embassies. In fact, he had been lured to Iraq with the false promise by the U.S. of negotiations and he was on his way to a peace conference brokered by the Iraqi government. So Donald Trump went out and lied to the American public to assassinate the second most important public figure in Iran. This kind of lie is the kind of lie, these are the kind of lies that WikiLeaks and Julian Assange had been exposing for about a decade. And this is why Julian Assange is in jail. Julian Assange is in jail because of these words that he said, that if wars can be started with lies, wars can be stopped with the truth. And Julian Assange, with his model of publishing, with the courage of WikiLeaks, they brought us the truth that exposed the lies, not just behind the conventional wars that we've seen, but the hybrid wars, the vicious sanctions that are starving to death tens of thousands of Venezuelans and Iranians and Cubans, and are now targeting independent sovereign countries like Nicaragua, where WikiLeaks through the State Department cables showed how the U.S. was paying opposition parties to try to destroy the Sandinistas. We've learned so much from WikiLeaks, and it's for that reason that Julian Assange is in jail. And they're in jail, he's in jail to make an example of him. He's in jail the same way that Joan of Arc was burned at the cross, to make an example so the rest of us don't go and do what he does. And because he's there, and I can tell you I was in touch with him for several weeks, and I'm going to talk about that in a second, over Signal, about what was taking place. And he, at certain points, was hopeful that he would be taken out of the embassy in London. I remember one message he sent to some of his supporters, and it was a rainbow emoji. He was hopeful, and then his hopes were crushed by the British security state acting as the cat's paw of the CIA. But he had this hope, and when his hope was crushed, I thought the best thing I can do is just redouble our efforts at the Gray Zone to continue the work that he's doing and that WikiLeaks is doing. And all of you independent journalists are continuing that work today. You should give yourselves a hand. I know Julian would be so proud of you if he could see what you're doing, and I know he knows this is happening. I've been in touch with his legal team. He's following all this closely, even though he's kept in a maximum security prison, unable to have human contact with his partner, contact with his children in the middle of a pandemic, with COVID spreading in that prison. He's being tortured, and the people who tortured Khaled al-Masri, who was kidnapped by the CIA in a case of false identity, and whose torture was exposed by WikiLeaks, they're still out there. They're still free. They're still walking down these streets as free people. That is the ultimate crime. So, Julian Assange was, in December 2017, in a series of meetings, and I wrote about this at the Gray Zone. I hope all of you get a chance to read the story that I published called The American Friends, based on leaked documents from a court case in Madrid where the CIA contractor that surveilled Julian Assange is on trial. Julian Assange had a series of meetings with his legal team, the Ecuadorian Senain Security Services, to talk about coming out of the embassy legally under international law. He was going to be given diplomatic immunity. A third-party country was going to make Julian Assange a diplomat. But the CIA was spying on these meetings, and I've proven that it was the CIA that was spying on these meetings, the US government, spying on his legal team, violating attorney-client privilege, and they issued the secret indictment of Julian Assange in Washington when everyone was denying there was an indictment because they knew he was trying to come out of the embassy. At this time, they were tailing his partner, Stella Morris. They were trying to steal his child's diaper out of the dumpster to try to prove that it was his DNA. They were plotting to assassinate him with poison. They were plotting to kidnap him. This was all revealed in this Spanish trial. And ultimately, the plan to give Julian Assange diplomatic immunity under the international law was shattered by the CIA. But this has significant implications for the trial at the Old Bailey in London. Because now that we know through this Spanish case with the CIA contractor, David Morales, and UC Global, which Mike Pompeo was using to spy on Julian Assange, now that we know that the CIA was spying on him and his lawyers, now that we know that the CIA was plotting to assassinate him, that this idea was pitched by David Morales to kill him, Now that we know that, there is absolutely no way he can be extradited here and to expect anything even pretending to be a free or fair trial. There is absolutely no way legally that he can be extradited to this country, which has already tortured him for years, which is controlling his prosecution in London, which is compelling the British state, which is America's poodle, to torture him in this maximum security prison. There is no way he can be extradited. So that's the message I want to send. Is even if it's morally obscene to torture, jail, and prosecute a journalist for the crime of journalism in a country where he isn't even a citizen, it is a complete violation of international law and even our Constitution to bring him here and put him on trial. So when I see Julian Assange next here, he's going to be a free person. And it's going to be thanks to the work that you all have been doing. You don't have any big backers, you don't have any supporters. You're just doing this out of your own conviction, and you should give yourselves a hand, and we just have to keep continuing the work that Julian Assange started, regardless of what happens. So thank you for being here. All of you are so inspiring to me.
Thank you, Mad Max.
Cool. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Open mic, is there anybody that would like to come up? Okay, so I want to give a big shout out to all the different independent media outlets. We have Status Coup hanging out with us today. We got Fort Fisher, Jackson Hinkle, we got the Convo Couch, Nico House was here, MCSC Network, we have Lee Camp, we have the Canary, we have Rupley, and so many others. I apologize if I did not say your name. Slow News Day with Steve. This is how change happens. This may be an assembly of about 50 people. But between all of our channels, between all of this coverage, there are thousands of people that we have educated on multiple different aspects of Julian's case today. All I ask is that everyone here today, all of the viewers online, we don't forget this, because it's not over. Tonight at about 5 a.m. Eastern Time is when Vanessa Baraitser will be reading her decision. There is only one decision, and it is no extradition. Because this is not a court case, this is a kidnapping. Julian Assange is not a terrorist, he is not a criminal, he is a journalist. And if he is allowed to be prosecuted, we are all next. The viewers, the speakers, the people in this audience, because fascists will not allow truth to be proliferated amongst the public. This is our time to run, to pick up this banner before someone as maniacal as Joe Biden potentially takes office. We've had Obama's administration prosecute more whistleblowers than anyone else previously in history combined. And Donald Trump broke that fucking record. Donald Trump is prosecuting a journalist. It is his administration, at the advice of Rick Grinnell, that is bringing forth these charges that will end our public right to know. They hide it behind the veil of a right-wing leader because they are the ones who people think will defend free speech. We cannot allow their propaganda to allow this to happen. We were here as Action for Assange during Donald Trump's Stop the Steal in the middle of December. We were the ones that were chanting at his events. We were the ones that forced his pastor, I think it's like Mark Burns, to say they will pardon Julian. And it is the deep state that forced him an hour later to retract that message. Our voices have power. Use it. Use your voice, use your feet, use your blood, sweat, and tears. Because the more we are willing to suffer for this now, the less we will suffer when they come for us. Thank you.
so much for the grade.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Hey, Max.
Hey, what's up?
Hi, my name is Morgan Argentina, and
Hey,
I am
man.
a journalist
Good to see you.
with Sputnik UK Entertainment, and I've been covering the Julian Assange case for a long time, as well as many of the other heinous crimes and assumptions that I've experienced. And I want to talk for a moment about how Assange's case.
Hey, how are you, Max?
Hey, how's it going?
Good. My name's John.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I'm with Status Coup.
Government that
Cool.
runs the world.
Thank you.
Thank you, man. Yeah, we'll keep in touch.
Assumption
I'll see you
that
tomorrow.
not
Thank
even subjected to a US
you. All right,
law.
Max, how are you?
A sign of
All right, so I got a live audience right now. What's that?
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
I have a live audience right now.
Oh,
So,
cool.
if you could, besides the Iraqi war crimes that Julian exposed, what else has he exposed?
Well, there's the Afghan war logs, which should I look directly at the camera? There's the Afghan war logs, which expose torture, hideous war crimes by the U.S. occupation authorities in Afghanistan. This was something that should have caused a gigantic political eruption in the U.S. And the press is only beginning to understand what was exposed there. Then we have the State Department Cablegate, which is a really interesting case. I mean, I can get into the details there because Assange is falsely accused of revealing the names of U.S. assets. And honestly, I've benefited a lot from seeing the names of U.S. assets exposed. You can really see how the U.S. is corrupting and meddling in other countries. But the State Department Cablegate is really what he's being prosecuted for. These are the cables, diplomatic cables of the U.S., which show how empire operates. It shows how the sausage is made. It shows how the U.S. meddles in other countries' political systems, how it pays opposition parties, how it uses these assets to infiltrate social movements, how it, for example, something I tweeted about the other day, the U.S. had infiltrated Venezuela's state oil company, which is its national patrimony. It uses PDVSA, the state oil company, to fund all their social programs. It's basically the engine of Venezuela's economy. They had penetrated it through oil executives who they listed as strictly protect in State Department cables. And these oil executives were actually plotting to sell off subsidiaries of the oil company in order to basically eliminate them in third-party countries and weaken the Venezuelan state. And Venezuela is since prosecuting them, and Pompeo's condemning the prosecutions, having these cables available to see that some of these figures who were being prosecuted actually were working for the other side, for the U.S. government to destroy Venezuela's national patrimony, which it uses to fund socialism, is very helpful to understanding the position of a government that's targeted by the United States. So I look at these cables and these WikiLeaks documents on a very microscopic level, and I've been able to find so much benefit in there and understanding how empire works. Then, we have the Stratfor cables, the leaks that Jeremy Hammett went to jail for. Those are enormously influential. Stratfor is basically like the private CIA. It is a firm, an intelligence firm, and private spying firm that's run out of Texas. These cables actually showed us in our work on Venezuela how Juan Guaido is trained by a CIA front known as OTPOR, or Canvas. We saw how in 2009 the Venezuelan opposition was hoping that that flooding would cause a massive power outage and that they would use it to cause social chaos, which later happened last year. So, I mean, I can go on and on, but I've learned so much from these cables. They're so essential to the work that we do, and honestly, it's what helps make the gray zone so dangerous to the security state, is that we're willing to report on this.
And what does it say to you that no corporate media or journalists, are speaking about this? What does it say to you about that?
Hold on one second.
Yes.
He's facing extradition to the United States because he posed an actual threat.
Yeah, sorry.
And I'm not only
no corporate journalists or any networks are speaking about this.
Yeah. Well, corporate journalists have started speaking about this, and the reason that they've started speaking about it is because they were shocked that actually the British police went into a sovereign into sovereign diplomatic territory of Ecuador and pulled Julian Assange out in a military-style raid for journalism. And so these sorry-ass milquetoast journalists like Scott Shane, and I mean, I'm willing to name names, Barton Gelman, who they didn't say shit for years about Julian Assange. Now they're finally speaking up because they realize it's their ass on the line. And their publications, the Washington Post, New York Times, all these mainstream publications were partnering with WikiLeaks, and they were feasting off of the information that was published there, including the DNC leaks, which, I mean, it's so disgusting that we're not supposed to know what was in there. WikiLeaks did a great service to our democracy in showing us how this corporate party was trying to manipulate a primary and prevent us from having, those of us who were registered Democrats, from having democracy, from having our voices heard. They're trying to destroy the candidate that many of us supported through rigging. So the media feasted on that. The New York Times was all about the DNC leaks. They were reporting on the Podesta emails too. The Podesta emails showed how the Democratic Party and the Hillary campaign specifically was run by a bunch of out-of-touch hovercraft elites who were in service to the 0.001%. And yeah, it definitely, it might have hurt their campaign, but we deserve to know that. Of course, we deserve to know that about Trump too. But he wasn't running around pretending that he was with the people. You know, we knew he was just a repulsive oligarch, so it wouldn't have been so shocking. But the corporate media reported on all of that, and now they're kind of making these mealy-mouthed statements. Jake Tapper finally came out and said he was against Julian Assange's prosecution. The question is, if they just go ahead with this, which it seems like they're going to do, or if Joe Biden comes in and says, we're just going to kick the can down the road, we're just going to leave him in that prison, leave him there to fester, if these journalists will actually step up and do something significant and show up at rallies like this and actually put their reputations and their big-time careers that grant them fancy homes next door to where we're standing on the line. And I don't think they will, but, you know, they should.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, they were loving the information that was out there, that WikiLeaks put out there, and now all of a sudden Assange is the enemy of the state. Why the switch over?
Well, part of it had to do with the DNC leaks and the Podesta emails and the implication that he was colluding with the Russian government to do it. And we can go into the details of that. Even if Russia had hacked those emails, it was actually phishing, just basic phishing, password 1. Even if that was the case, it still was beneficial to our democracy to know what was going on behind the scenes. And the U.S. does this to Russia all the time. The U.S. does this to Iran and all sorts of countries. It hacks and then dumps with mainstream media. So WikiLeaks, whether they were working with Russia or not, what they did was beneficial to our democracy. When Trump won, which no one expected, I mean, one of the most hilarious DNC emails was the revelation of the Pied Piper strategy, that the Hillary campaign was deliberately elevating Donald Trump in the primary because they thought he was most likely to lose, because they were in that establishment mindset. So when Trump actually won and shocked the world, all these people were like, shit, it's Julian Assange. I mean, they actually had a meeting with Robbie Mook, who, by the way, is a naval information warfare officer on the side. No one knows that. He's actually moonlights in the Navy as a propagandist. Robbie Mook, who is her campaign manager, and her communication staff and Hillary Clinton had a meeting hours after the loss and said, we're blaming this on WikiLeaks, the Russians, and Julian Assange is going to be our scapegoat. So the rest of the media, who are all Democrats, who all hang out here together, I mean, I grew up here, I know how it is, they were like, Julian Assange did this, and now Donald Trump's yelling at us in press conferences. It's his fault. So fuck him. We're no longer going to work with him. Russian disinformation is freaking us out. That's our enemy. And the press circled the wagons around the Democratic Party and the national security state, and they all bonded together against Donald Trump, and Julian Assange was collateral damage. And now they're starting to wake up to what they've done. And what they have done is eroded whatever was left of the First Amendment, whatever was left of democracy. And I hold them as responsible, the corporate media, I hold them as responsible as the national security state. And then just another point to your question is the demonization of Assange. I mean, there was a deliberate campaign to peel away female support, feminist support from Julian Assange by painting him as a rapist. That's all been discredited and debunked. And it was, I mean, these were shady situations that very much recalled historical tactics of the intelligence services being deployed against him, painting him as a Russian asset, a rapist, a covert right-winger because he is politically hard to pin down, and you know, an anarchist or a digital terrorist, as Joe Biden called him. All of those have helped peel away support so that us freaks are the only ones left. And that's just so dismaying.
Absolutely. And today and tomorrow the hearing, right? It's the hearing for him to possibly be extradited. What do you think is going to happen?
Why is it so hard to find any information on Vanessa Bareitzer? We can't find anything on her. Any information online about her was deleted. The previous judge who was dealing with the case, her husband was involved with the British intelligence services. I mean, these judges are just rubber stamps for the British security state. And as I revealed in my investigation on the CIA and their role in targeting Assange, there are these grim American men seated behind the British prosecution team whispering in their ears throughout the whole trial. These American guys in dark suits. Who are they? Department of Justice, which works with the FBI, which works with the CIA. It's the same people that were targeting Assange in the embassy are behind the prosecution. And I can't see any situation where they don't either prolong his torture or extradite him. The fix is in, but they don't actually have any grounds to do it. He's not even an American citizen. And we should know that if he comes here, he will be put on trial at a court in Alexandria, a federal court, where all of these phony terror trials in the post-9/11 era have taken place, and where there's this judge, Brinkema, who has like a 99.95 conviction rate. And before convicting all of these Muslim prisoners, what she would do is hold them indefinitely in federal prison, for years in some cases, or under house arrest. So he has no chance here. And his legal team has been spied on and is being spied on. That's confirmed. So this is just an absolute travesty of justice taking place in broad daylight. And I don't understand, back to your question about the corporate media, why it wasn't a bigger deal that the CIA was spying on his legal team and plotting to assassinate him. All we hear about is Navalny, the Russians were plotting to poison this opposition figure. Well, this is the biggest dissident in the West. This is one of the most significant journalists of our time. This is the press freedom case of the century, of the last century too. And the U.S. intelligence services plotted to kill him, considered killing him. And it's like, why is it the gray zone's the only one reporting that? I'm not like, according to 3 sources they said that. I'm reporting that based on the actual phone communications of the CIA contractor who plotted to do it, like his text messages. I have those. I put them out there. Why isn't that on the front page of the New York Times?
It's wild. But thank you for
thank you for being here. Thank you to Status Coup. You know, you were here and you were at the Force the Vote rally too. Jordan Chariton's doing incredible work. You're one of the few real media outlets that, you know, we at the Gray Zone really respect and consider comrades in this whole thing. So thank you for the work you're doing.
Thank you, Max. It was nice to meet you. And are you going to be here tomorrow too?
Yeah,
as well?
I'll try to come out, yeah.
Okay.
If I can get up.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Good talking to you.
Yeah, you too. Woo!
Excuse me. What do we got here?
Thank you, Andrew.
Some wristbands. Oh, I'm okay. I'll grab one later.
Red, white, blue, black.
Take the black one. Cool. Thank you.
But we represent so many people out there who are not able to attend. He's out here in the middle of a pandemic. We're here to show solidarity because we know where this is heading. We know that we have to take a stand now. We know that the Democrats have actually been worse on press freedom than the Republicans.
And so many people have said so much today that Max Blumenthal, so many others, that there's hardly anything left that I could say about that, who knows so much more about the topic. But I want to say that the People's Party stands strongly in solidarity with freedom for Assange.
Andrew. Thanks, sir. For sure. So, we're going to wrap up for today. It's raining. A lot of us have been at 2 events, if not more, today. Tonight at midnight, we have a permit to do this exact same thing in this exact same place. If you can make it, please join me. I want to piss these people off more than you can imagine. So we're going to be here at midnight to wake them up. The significance is they have to wake Julian up at 5 o'clock in the morning. The UK is 5 hours ahead of us. So we come at midnight to wake them up at the exact same time that they are waking Julian up, to strip search him, to put him in a glass coffin inside of a vehicle, drive him over an hour to the Old Bailey, to be removed, strip searched, handcuffed, and transported into a glass cage in the back of the prison. If you're as outraged as I am, please consider joining me tonight to wake these guys up at the same time that they wake up Assange. Tomorrow at noon, we will be outside the Department of Justice. Rain or shine, snow, tornadoes, fuck them. So please join us, whether the ruling's extradition, no extradition, or some other crazy thing that the judge comes up with. Tonight at about 4 a.m. on our Action for Assange channel, we're going to be kicking off live coverage. This morning. Just so everyone knows, journalists are not allowed to actually broadcast this trial. So we invented a creative method back in September where we're going to be going through all the live tweets from all of the journalists that have access to the court's live feed, so we can build people the most accurate, full and detailed picture of the courtroom, short of being there watching it yourself. So that's going to start tonight at 4 in the morning, and I just hope everybody goes home, be safe, and turns out tonight and tomorrow to free this man. Thank you very much. Thank you, guys. Thank you for coming out, everybody. You guys make my heart nice and warm and big and stuff. This is great.
Which one? With Max? Still live. Thank you. Add anything? Do you want to? No? Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Thank you very much. By 10 a.m. their time, which is 5 our time, the judge should have waited up.
Oh, every time. You only got the back You must publish stuff, please.
And even then, there's other appeals process.
Wait, so it could be as quick
All right, guys, so this is wrapped up here. I'm going to sign off in a little bit, head back to the hotel. Yeah, and we'll be back out here tomorrow. Let me just check the live chat, see what's going on. What's that? I'm still live, yeah. Why? I'm still what's up? We're going to get this done. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, done. You have
Are you going to be at the rally? Yeah. If you have any questions, John, that's my email and that's my thank you very much. I'm not too sure. I'm still trying to figure it out. Probably like but I'll be moving. But yeah, this is going to be accepted. Yeah. Any questions? Just give me a call. Send me an email. All right, man. Nice to meet you. I'll see you around.
All right, let me wrap it up here. All right, guys. Tomorrow, 9 a.m. or 9:30 for the third and final Force to Vote rally, and then back here around noon for the Julian Assange rally. Again, same thing as today. So between 9 and 9:30 tomorrow, and then noon and between 12 and 12:30 tomorrow afternoon. All right, everyone. Take care, and I'll see you around.
Do you mind putting in my place?
Okay. Yeah, I greatly appreciate it.
What time do you have to go?
I appreciate it. Are you ready? Escaping the rain.
Take your time.
Johnny, you got my number, right?
How's it going?
No, let me get that. Hold on.
How you doing, Johnny?
Not much. I'm gonna.